Step into the vibe, let me tell you what's real.
In the shadows and the light, there's power to feel.
Voices of ABBA, bringing wisdom like gold.
We won't let the stories of our lives go untold. Change is a whisper that you can't ignore. The future's a heartbeat, it's knocking at the door. Every lesson learned, every truth that we find, with purpose in our steps and the world in our mind.
We're standing on truth.
Welcome to Truth and Legacy. This isn't just a podcast, this is a real conversation. This is about what gets passed down, pain, lessons, and legacy. Today I'm sitting with my father, not just as his son, but as a man trying to understand the foundation of where I come from. We're talking about the streets, survival, fatherhood, and how the journey turns into something bigger. Before ABBA, before success, who were you? What was life like growing up?
Well, to be honest with you, I grew up in a typical way that young African-American men grew up. I grew up in the South Bronx at a very difficult time. No real positive male role model. My father wasn't there. And most of the time growing up in my community, you have to survive on your own. And naturally, being in the South Bronx at a very turbulent and violent time, I wind up being involved with gangs and other negative things, which led to my eventual incarceration.
What do you feel you didn't have that you needed the most as a young man?
Well, most importantly, most young men, including myself as I was growing up, we needed a positive male role model to help guide young men. Although the women are strong at what they do, they have been the lifesaver of many families, but a broken family leads to a broken person. And there was many elements that were left out of my life that contributed to some of the mistakes that I made.
When did survival mode really kick in? When did life stop feeling like childhood and start feeling like pressure?
To be quite honest with you, it stopped feeling like childhood when, as a 16-year-old youthful offender, I ended up in the criminal justice system. That's when I began to understand things were real. I took a negative situation, and that's why I always emphasize the fact that I was incarcerated, but I took that to help transform my life. It was while I was incarcerated, I began to learn how to read. I got a GED and I was going to college. I read so many books about the lives of African Americans, not just in my little South Bronx ghetto, but life of African Americans in America. And that played a dynamic impact on transforming me and the way that I think and how I could stop being a negative influence in the community and to do something positive that could possibly transform the lives of the next generation.
Every man has a moment where something shifts. What was that moment for you? Was it fear, responsibility, or something inside you that said, this ends with me?
Well, the moment for me is when I actually thought I was surviving in the streets and actually my life was deteriorating to the point that I ended up actually homeless. And at that point, I really realized I don't belong in this situation. I didn't have no help, but I went to what was then a parole officer and spoke with him, and he sent me to a place called Mount Eden Rescue Mission, and that was the transformative moment, or put a period on it, when my life began to take a dramatic shift into who I become today.
How did you go from that mindset to wanting to build something different? What habits had to change, and what thinking had to change?
Bottom line is, everything in my life had to change. But the good news is that I had this wonderful woman. Her name, we call her lovingly Sister Gina Huddleston. We call her Sister Gina. She ran a place called Mount Eden Rescue Mission, the place that I ended up going in for shelter. The thing about this woman, she was unique. In that she get involved personally with people's lives. She seen that God had a call on my life. So she started mentoring me, allowed me to become part of that ministry. And she turned around and made sure that one of the pastors in the community, I remember him till the day, Pastor Angel Rios, mentored me for 3 years. But working for her, I started working in the community. I made a lot of appearances on radio stations, mostly giving testimonies, television interviews, And then she gave me, made me the assistant executive director, where I was managing the house. I didn't know at the time, but all that stuff, and I did that for 10 years, all that stuff was the catalyst, which led to me, one, coming out to Long Island, and two, creating the ministry that has, I believe, had a profound impact on me and the community, called ABBA Leadership Center. And that grew out of the fact that I came out to Long Island, was working in a jail, and I seen the same problem on Long Island that we had in the South Bronx. 85% of the young men that was coming in the criminal justice system at that time that I now am a counselor over, 85% of them was from fatherless homes. And when you sit down and talk to them, even me, I become a role model of some of them, and sitting down and talking to them, we realize how that really impacted their lives, which contributed to them going astray and entering the criminal justice system. And I sat down with a partner of mine, and we started talking about how do we deal with the issue relevant to these young men, because we were dealing with men that were 16 through 24. What can we do to focus in on helping them? And we realized most of them was missing fathers, and that's where the word ABBA come into play. The word ABBA means father. So we talk about ABBA Leadership Center. We want to take these young men and put them in a situation, lead them in the right direction, and steer them away from the negative stuff they was doing in the community. And I'm telling you, it was transformative. Most of the young men that we deal with are now, I'm happy to announce a lot of them, and the one I mentored personally has 6 kids now. He's a strong father. He's in his kid's life. Matter of fact, he just bought a house a few years ago in Pennsylvania. I can tell you of another young man he went to jail at 14, came out 20. He now is working in construction, and he's out there talking to other young men. So ABBA Leadership Center now has been going on for 20 years. We started ABBA in 2005, and we just celebrated a few months ago the 20th year anniversary of ABBA Leadership Center, and some of the things we have done to impact the lives of the young people in the community and to impact the community itself.
Now we're here building ABBA, not just as a program, but as a legacy. What does ABBA mean to you? Who is this really for?
Well, ABBA it means to me a life-changing organization that is set up and designed to change the lives, particularly of the men in the community, but we work with the women as well. So we're trying to change and impact men and women's lives in a positive way. And matter of fact, we are looking towards a goal. Let me be quite clear. I'm almost 69 now. I'm looking to transition out of the ministry and bring you on, Terrell. In fact, to become the next executive director. So that's passing a legacy on to the next generation. One of the biggest problems I've had over the years, and I watch many of our great leaders who start major organization, transformative organization, but they sit there and don't pass that torch on. In fact, I don't want to go into the names of them, but several important, powerful leaders would not transition their organization to the next generation, and most of them died in office. And many of these organizations die because they don't have that futuristic goal or transitioning that ministry to suit the needs of up-and-coming generations.
When you look at everything you've been through, what are you really building? When it's all said and done, what do you want people to say about you?
Well, what I want people to say is what the Bible says. Well done, that good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of thy Lord. I'm not looking to get rich. I'm not looking to get famous. And if you want to put a marker on my legacy or something like that, said all you have to do is say he did all he can to do the best he can to impact lives in the community that he once was a part of messing up. I guess that's it. I'll put a period on that.
This is more than just a story. This is about survival to purpose. This is where legacy begins. This is truth and legacy.
Step into the vibe, let me tell you what's real.
In the shadows and the light, there's power to feel.
Voices of ABBA bringing wisdom like gold.
We won't let the stories of our lives go untold. Change is a whisper that you can't ignore. The future's a heartbeat, it's knocking at the door. Every lesson learned, every truth that we find, with purpose in our steps and the world in our mind.
We're standing on truth.